Good afternoon, everyone. It is 4:01, and incredibly, we are perfectly on schedule for the music of Bennie Moten, and it's very exciting for me. I haven't done a large band set here in the past, so it was a fun and time-consuming effort to put all these charts together. And we're going to play a bunch of music from Bennie Moten's early, and I guess you would call it early-mid recording career, from 1922 through 27 or so. So Bennie Moten was born in Kansas City in 1893, and he was a pianist and a band leader, and he was a very important figure in the evolution of Kansas City jazz, which of course had such a huge influence on not only 1920s jazz, but also later on the swing era and on bebop. So a lot of subsequent eras in jazz history had their roots in the Kansas City style and the Kansas City groove, which is very swinging even at these early stages and full of great stomp and power. So we're excited to present this music. Bennie Moten got his recording break with OK Records in 1922, I believe, under the auspices of a guy named Winston Holmes. This guy was an interesting Kansas City entrepreneur. He was a professional boxer, and after his boxing career was over, he moved to music promotion and was instrumental in the career of the Bennie Moten Orchestra, because he was the one who hooked them up with OK Records, and they went up to Chicago to record their first session and with backing some blues singers. And those records are very awesome, and I encourage you to check them out. We're not going to play any of those today, but maybe in a future year. But at any rate, this guy went on to found Merit Records, which was a really early black-owned record label in Kansas City. And they're all very rare, I think. Anyhow, so after OK, those blues recordings in Chicago, Moten made recordings for OK in St. Louis and Kansas City, and then got a contract with Victor in Chicago under the directorship of Ralph Peer, who toured the country finding great musicians, recording tons of amazing American folk music and jazz as well. So the Moten Orchestra started out, his first band was called the Bennie, Bailey, and Dude. And it was a trio with a singer and a drummer. The drummer was Dude. Of course. And and they were very popular in Kansas City and played at dances and things. And there's a good story, and he tells about how when they started out, they just got this gig and they didn't really only knew a few songs, but the dance hall was totally rammed, so they just had to keep playing the same songs over and over. Anyway, they expanded eventually to this instrumentation for their first session. So a smaller band, just two reeds, and no tuba yet, although Phil's already on stage, so you know there's going to be tuba later. Anyway, we're going to start with the 1924 version of Bennie Moten's famous hit South, which of course in 1926 was recorded again for Victor and became one of their best-selling records for decades. I mean, it was even dubbed onto 45 and sold up into the 50s. But that version is not the version we're going to play. Of course, we're going to play the older and more obscure one, because why else would we do something well-known at Whitley Bay? This is the original recording of South, St. Louis in November 1924. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Thank you. We're going to carry on with another tune recorded, yes, on the same day in St. Louis. This is Goofy Dust, and it's one of, well, actually, interestingly, Bennie Moten repeated a lot of songs throughout his career, recorded the acoustic versions, and then like 5 or 6 years later, recorded electric versions, and some of them were similar and some of them were different. We'll get to one of the electric ones of those later. This was later called the new Goofy Dust Rag, but in the original it's just called Goofy Dust. And Colin Hancock informs me that Goofy Dust is actually a type of powder used in voodoo rituals. So there you go. So this is a piano feature for Moten. Moten was, known more as a band leader than as a pianist. And if you read, jazz history books, they say things like a limited pianist, which they always say about people, it's stupid. But he was a great pianist and very raggy in his approach. But this sort of strong two-beat feel with the woodblock and everything that the band really encapsulates, I think, has a lot to do with the strong two-beat feel of Bennie Moten's piano, based in that ragtime tradition. And this is one of his piano rag features, Goofy Dust. One, two, 3. All right, we're going to carry on now with a couple of sort of more sentimental tunes. We're going to invite Andy to, Andy and Torsten are going to play together at the end, but they're going to switch off until then, so apologies for all the acrobatics. Another hand for Torsten Kuban on trumpet. Andy Strum is going to come and take over the Lamar Wright trumpet chair. One thing that's interesting about the Moten band, I think, is that they only had one cornet for a really long time. As many bands were expanding their brass and reed section, the Moten band just kept expanding the reed section. So it has a certain, particular sound as a result of having less brass. It's kind of cool. It's really interesting. And this is a tune which was recorded, let's see, in Kansas City, 1 year later, in May of 1925. And there's a number of these sort of gospel-influenced tunes, I guess. They have these, a sentimental kind of trio, which I guess probably also comes from ragtime as well as church music, but it's a distinctive sound that starts to emerge here a couple of years into Bennie Moten's recording career and continues throughout the 20s. So this is a beautiful tune called Things Seem So Blue to Me. Oh, yes. Phil has picked up his tuba. Relieving my left hand of some effort. One, two, 3. Okay, thank you very much. We're going to carry on with the only vocal tune of the set. Svet's going to sing it for us. This is recorded also on the same day in Kansas City, May 14th, 1925. And it's a tune called She's Sweeter Than Sugar. And it has a vocal by a guy whose name I've neglected to write on my paper, but somebody here probably knows. At any rate, it's...
Harry Falsetto.
There we go. Yes, that's his name. It's very high. There we go. Thank you, Mark. It's very high, and Spats is going to do it in the original key because he's awesome. Spatzling! I also wanted to point out the alto playing in this band is very good, and the alto player was a guy called Harlan Leonard, and he was a very interesting musician, very well trained, and influenced strongly by the great innovator Lauren McMurray, who we heard Mike doing a wonderful tribute to last year. And McMurray was around Kansas City in the early 20s, and a lot of the style of alto playing that Harlan Leonard uses on these records is kind of derivative, or at least related to McMurray's style, including an amazing slap tongue chorus behind the vocals, which David is going to play for us on this tune. So we hope you enjoy She's Sweeter Than Sugar. Okay. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Same band?
Same band.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, one more. And it's such a treat to be here, of course. I mean, it goes without saying, everyone gets up here and says the same thing, but it's true. It really is unique in all the world, really, and a really special opportunity to be here once again with you all and to lead this band. And I love everybody here and all the great musicians I get to play with every time I've been here at Whitley Bay. But I must say I'm very thankful to Mike for this particular rhythm section because it's just so slammin'. And let's have a hand for these guys. Nick Ball, Phil Rutherford, and Spatzling. And a special thanks to Nick for just playing woodblock the whole freaking time, just like it should be. So, we're gonna carry on with the song from one more song from the same recording session. And this is another beautiful, sort of a hot and also sentimental song called As I Like It. Tempo as well. Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. As I Like It. And as another hand for someone who we're very happy to have for the first time playing the role of the original trombonist, Thaman Hayes, who also wrote the last two songs. Charlie Halloran on trombone. Nice to have someone from Missouri in the band as well. We're going to add Richard Exall on tenor and alto sax. And yeah, all right, yeah. And Andy will get a break for a couple of tunes. The band at this point expanded, as you can see, with the addition of a third saxophone, and also went up to Chicago to make some records 1 year later in 1926. And these were recorded at the Webster Hotel in Chicago, in the Loop. And actually this last April, I went to visit Andy, and I had my second attempt to try to find the Webster Hotel ballroom. The first time I found the building, it's now apartments, and I went into to ask the guy if we could go check out the ballroom, and he said, no, you have to live here to go check out the ballroom. So I thought, there must be a ballroom in here. And I can't go in it, and that's annoying. So whatever, the porter didn't let me in. Several years later, here we are in April, Andy and I went down to try again. Different porter, okay, we explained. We're here, we're jazz musicians. We're researching jazz history. We're going to check out this place where all these famous records are made. And the guy was like, sure, whatever you want to do. Okay, so where's the ballroom? He's like, there is no ballroom. So of course we were not satisfied with this, right? So we started walking around. We went upstairs. We went in the back fire escape access corridors. My wife gave up and went down to the lobby at this point. But we explored the whole building, and we sort of looked inside and outside at all the windows and the ceilings, and determined that the fitness center was originally the ballroom, because it had the big windows, and it was connected to like a sort of business center to fitness center, remodeled from the original ballroom. So anyway, we found it. Unfortunately, we can't play a gig there unless you want to go play a gig in the gym. But it was fun anyway. So recorded in the Webster Hotel in, December 13th, the day before my birthday, in 1926. Oh yes, right, and Nick was born 2 days after, or before me, December 12th, and so on December 13th we usually used to hang out and do things. Here's a tune recorded on December 13th, the Thick Lip Stomp. All right. One, two, three. Okay, we're gonna play a slow tune now. And this is a really weird composition, apparently written by Bennie Moten, at least according to the record label. And it's called the Harmony Blues, and it indeed has a lot of harmony in it. It's not a blues, as many tunes called blues are not. This was recorded in the same session in the Webster Hotel, and it's it's sort of amazing from a sort of transcribing perspective. The earlier records were acoustic records made in a horn into an acoustic horn, and again with conventional wisdom would tell us those are bad quality and hard to hear. But because everyone was playing their instruments like directly into the horn, it's actually pretty easy to hear all the notes and write out the charts. The ones recorded with early microphones I found to be a little more tricky, and this one was a little more tricky, but also it's just so weird that there are these moments where I'm like, it can't possibly be what it really is, but it was. So anyway, the Harmony Blues. I don't think I have anything else to say on this. All right, hope you enjoy. One, two, three. All right, a little switching around again. How about that great trumpet solo from Torsten Kuban? Andy's going to come back, and we're going to play a composition of Jelly Roll Morton. This was recorded, the next day. All right. And this is called Midnight Mama. This is kind of interesting because, well, first of all, it's by Jelly Roll Morton, and I thought I can't get up here in front of all of you and not play a composition from Jelly Roll Morton because it's me. And secondly, because this is a song that Morton recorded in St. Louis with a band, and when he was sort of hanging around there. And around that time, as we heard yesterday in the Charlie Kretz set, there were a number of St. Louis bands that were recording Morton compositions, some with him and some without him. But he certainly exerted an influence on the scene there that was pretty strong when he went through in the late teens and early 20s. And I suspect that must have extended to some degree to Kansas City as well. I mean, he wrote a song about it, the Kansas City Stomp. You know, there's other recordings like this one of Morton compositions by bands from that area. This is a pretty weird arrangement, actually. It doesn't have as much of a sax section feeling as the last one did. You can kind of still hear the transition from the earlier ensemble style to, you know, a sort of more swingy kind of sax section going on around this time. And this one is going to feature some solos by a bunch of people. Richard, Lars, and an extra surprise from Lars on this one. So here we go with Midnight Mama. Oh, right, I would also mention, you might know this as the Tomcat Blues, which is what Morton called it on his record, and also the second part of it is, of course, the famous New Orleans tune Wine and Boy Blues, which Morton said he wrote, but, you know, it was probably a common New Orleans theme. So there's a lot of layers of composition in this one as well. All right, Midnight Mama. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. The guys are going to move down once more. In the meantime, let's appreciate that incredible mouthpiece solo by Lars Frank. Clarinet player in this band was a guy called Woody Walder, and he was sort of learning to play jazz as he joined this band, and a couple of other guys who played with the band, including Harlan Leonard, the alto player, talked about teaching him sort of how to play on the bandstand. And he played tenor and clarinet, and often used this mouthpiece trick, which is pretty fun. So thanks, Lars, for doing that, obliging me on that one. The band sort of later made a strong transition towards the swing era, as we probably all know, of course, and became the Count Basie Orchestra upon the death of Bennie Moten. That's sort of later than the purview of our set today. But I was reading a great book called Going to Kansas City. Maybe some of you have this book. It's a bunch of interviews with Kansas City jazz musicians that are compiled into themes, and there's a whole section on Moten. And some of the guys talked about when they went to New York, and everybody in New York just said, we can't figure out what's going on with these guys' swing. They swing in a way, that we've never heard before. These guys from out west, they called it. Funny for me to think of Kansas City as being out west. But, specifically, there was somebody who said, this guy named Woody Walder showed up in New York, and nobody had ever heard anything like that before. Not that it was particularly brilliant, but it was just weird. And I think that the sort of shock effect of this particular type of swing and groove was really influential when the Moten band went up north. We're going to play two more tunes for you, and then we can all go eat. And this is a nice blues called the New Tulsa Blues. And now this is one of those songs that Moten recorded in 22 or 23, and then again later, in this case in 1927. The arrangement's not particularly different, but as you've noticed, we've now added a second trumpet, filling out the band a little bit more here, and this particular arrangement, the new arrangement of the New Tulsa Blues, brings the second trumpet in for some cool effects. So, here we go. Recorded in Chicago again in 1927, June, the New Tulsa Blues. One, two. All right, thank you very much, everyone. It's been a pleasure to present this music to you today. Some great early sides by Bennie Moten, and we're going to finish off with a hot stomp called Pass Out Lightly, which is what we're all going to do if we don't eat. So fortunately, time for dinner now. I know, again, we incessantly introduce everyone, but I just want to appreciate everyone in this band for their great efforts playing this great music. Thanks, guys, for doing a wonderful job. On reeds, we have David Horniblow, Lars Frank, and Richard Exall. On brass, Andy John, Thorsten Kuhn, and Charlie Halloran. And the women's section, Nick Paul, Phil Rutherford, Stats Langham. I'm Andrew Oliver. Thank you very much. And we'll see you this evening for more great music. Thank you. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.